you tell me your background?
Joey, my background, I'm a graduate of Huntington North High School in 1977, Huntington College with a degree in business and economics in 1981, and then a master's degree in 1987 in pastoral ministry. I'm also have been a licensed funeral director here in town since 1982. My wife is Barb. We have three wonderful daughters, two of which are school teachers, and one is a police officer, and six grandkids. And my wife and I own and operate Proviance House Bed and Breakfast here in town.
So, if you're reelected mayor, what is going to be your primary areas of focus the next 4 years?
Well, you know, Joey, since I was elected mayor the first time in 2011 and took office in January 2012, and then again won re-election in 2015 and now running for re-election in 2019, the focuses have always been the same, and that is the first one is just the ongoing pursuit of meaningful jobs. In order to have a great community, we need to have good jobs, and right now we have record low unemployment. We've had record numbers of capital investment by companies. I don't know of a company manufacturer here in town that's not hiring right now. We've got great jobs, and we've also been able to upskill a lot of people through the Learning Center. Second area is that of operating the city like a business, and one of the reasons we've been able to do so many improvements in our parks, greenways, street paving is way up, is because we've been driving waste out of our budgets and operating the city very much like a business. And then finally, the most important thing, and I think the thing that we all want to feel, is we want to be able to enjoy calling Huntington home. And so my biggest desire is to have people in any and every neighborhood in Huntington to really enjoy the place where they've chosen to call home here in Huntington.
So during the election, your opponent has talked about how the tax rate in town has been a hindrance to growth and the ability of Huntington to compete with other towns. Could you elaborate or talk about what he's talking about with the tax rate?
Yeah, Joey. You know, you have to have taxes to pay the bills to provide the services that citizens want. And my opponent has been discussing what he thinks is a high tax rate for the city of Huntington. What he's not sharing is that the city rate is made up of more rates than the city. The county, he's the president of the commissioners, and the county council have an influence on that. You know, the library, the township, the schools all weigh into that rate. And there's different ways cities around the state fund their rate. And so it's not always comparing apples to apples when you look at just the property tax rate. It also depends on how much the taxes are that are coming out of your payroll. That changes in other communities. So I just encourage people to look at the value that you receive of the services for the taxes you pay, and then also add up the total between your property taxes and how much gets taken out of your check compared to neighbors in other communities. Then when the discussion turns to being competitive, I really don't understand what my opponent's discussing there, because Huntington has been incredibly successful and is incredibly competitive in attracting and retaining manufacturing jobs here in Huntington. We have had a record decade of growth under the leadership of Huntington County Economic Development, and the county and the city working together. Mr. Buzzard has been at the table at all those conversations. So, you know, I'm proud of the results that we've had and the success that we've had in bringing companies like CSP and seeing Bendix expand, and Onward Manufacturing and Echo Lake Foods. There's just a whole list of companies that have expanded. Ecolab is another one. I'm all for keeping the tax rate down, because we have lots of things that we need to do at the city and the county. I mean, the county's dealing with jail issues, the schools are dealing with facility issues, and so it's important that not just the city, but that every entity, the county, the schools, the library, the trustee's office, are all paying attention to their tax rate. And that's the bottom line of it. We need to keep the taxes down, but we got to work together.
So with the new police station, there's a lot of residents that are concerned about downtown parking. Could you talk about what the city's doing, and what you're doing, and what you plan to do about the parking situation downtown?
Yeah, Joey, great question. We just broke ground last week on the new police station that replaces the 114-year-old station on the first floor of the city building. That'll be done next May. It is long overdue, and it gives our 35 officers the space that they need to be able to do the kind of policing that needs done in 2019 and really for the next 20 or 30, 40 years. We used a space that the city already owned. We didn't go and buy a commercial building and take it off the tax rolls. We used space there north of the city building. We also wanted to keep the police station close to downtown where most of the activity is for our officers and keeping downtown safe. That's where the highest concentration of people are is downtown. The other thing, when we had some discussions and concerns about the parking, Chief Hacker has been very proactive in addressing those concerns. And in fact, many of the downtown businesses have been very helpful and cooperative in taking advantage of some additional spaces that they may not have known about, with some other parking lots downtown. So we're doing a study right now, which is very important because we do have an influx of residents coming downtown with the new UB block coming on board. So you're going to have more and more people living downtown in apartments and upstairs apartments at some of the storefronts. There are individuals that are buying up some of the vacant storefronts right now, and their plans are to put shops on the first floor and residences on the second. So it's important that we take time to figure out the downtown parking. But I think we're being very proactive about it.
Could you talk about the closing of the landfill and your Orange Dot program, which is your answer to citywide cleanup?
Yep. Great question, Joey. The landfill closed after nearly 50 years of use. Increased regulations from EPA and IDEM just made any expansion of that operation cost prohibitive. And so the question that a lot of people have had is what changes with regard to cleanup, and really nothing. I mean, we've had citywide cleanup every day with the Orange Sticker program since 2012. So for $5, if people have a large item like a couch or big pile of brush, that sort of thing. We have grapple trucks we have two that circulate through the city every day. They pick up things that get called in, and we're able to take those items to the landfill up that Advanced Disposal uses for our trash. And, if people have questions about that, they're welcome to call 356-4720.
So there's a lot of talk about the debt, the city debt. Can you go ahead and explain what's going on with the debt?
Sure. Yeah, the city debt, it's very managed. One of the things we recently did in a bond that we needed to get approved for, we received an A+ rating from Standards & Poor's. That's like having a 800 credit rating, personally. So they look at all your assets, they look at your resources, they look at your internal controls, they look at your cash on hand, they look at your revenue streams, they look at your business practices, and they say the city of Huntington is a good credit risk. I mean, you don't get the opportunity to borrow money if you're not a good credit risk, just like any of us that want to buy a car, buy a house, or a student loan, or whatever we need to do. I think the other thing that's important for people to remember with the debt that the city has is it's much like owning a house. I mean, you've got your mortgage payment, probably, most of us do, but if the roof needs fixed, or the foundation needs repaired, or the HVAC unit goes out, you might have to go borrow some money for a brief period of time. Now that's a whole lot different than going out and borrowing money for a flat screen TV or some sort of unnecessary item that you need or that you want. And so I think that in the numbers that are out there, my opponents used the number 63 million. Well, I can say 80% of that debt is tied to all the work that we have been required to do to separate our stormwater from our sanitary sewer water. So the other 10% of the debt is tied to the closing of the landfill, which is required. So really it leaves a very minimal amount of debt that has been used for improving our parks, taking care of flooding situations on the east side of town, trails, greenways, and all the things that make Huntington a better place. So, it's all a matter of how much resource does a community have, how much debt is there tied to that, were there any other options? Our preferred way to do it is to pay cash for lots of things, but there are oftentimes big items, big ticket items, that are going to last for 30 or 40 years. And so to take a loan out or a bond makes sense, because you're able to get the benefit of the projects, and you're also getting compliant with what EPA and IDM are telling you got to do.
Okay, so with the recent closing of going south, the south end is in dire need of some kind of grocery store that gives access to health food, like produce, vegetables, and stuff. So some of the people around on the south side. As mayor, what do you plan on doing in the future if you get elected to fix that issue?
Joey, the announcement by Kroger a week or so ago to close Owen South was really a punch in the gut. I hate that. I mean, my wife and I moved here to the near south side of town because we love being close to downtown. We love being on the south side, and that was our grocery store. I mean, with the bed and breakfast, Barb would be out there every day of the week. As a kid, living on the north side of town, my family went to Bob's Finer Foods all the time. That's where we went to grocery shop. So, I mean, that's one of the main stores that I've been a part of my whole life. And, talking with some of the other merchants out around there, they're very concerned because, the grocery store brings people out there to that area of town every day because it's what they need. They need food. And so, the last several years, I've been working with various different pockets of business leaders, including business out in the South Side, and talking about these sorts of things. I wish I could say something's going to happen quick. I think Kroger's a big corporation, and they've got business objectives that they're going to keep in mind. I don't know how open they're going to be to letting somebody else go in there right away, but I do know that there are people out there that care deeply about getting something in that area. So my plan is to work hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder with anybody out there that wants to see something good happen in that shopping center.
So with Heritage Days, there's a lot of people's concerned about Heritage Days and how we can improve it. So if you're reelected, how do you plan on making it even better than what it is as mayor?
Yeah, Heritage Days is this Huntington City party every summer in June. It's a lot of fun. Things like the strawberry feed and the parade and the car shows and the carnival and all that. And several years ago, we relocated the carnival from Warren Street over to Cherry Street. That was a good move. It's right there next to the police station. I think there's a better feeling of security for family with kids. They're down there. They're really having a good time. And it's also a more open space. Steve Kimmel, the president of the Chamber of Commerce, really is the one who heads that up. I know he is always working on new ideas and recruiting volunteers. And our parade is really one of the best around. And then, of course, the balloon glow, he has that up on the front campus of the high school on Saturday night. He's got live bands. They've had bed races, car shows. And then, of course, on Sunday night with the LaFontaine Arts Council, Jeff Fest downtown. And I think Steve is always looking at it. This year, the theme is on the 60s. I'm anticipating some really cool cars, the dawn of the muscle car era. And, I think the food shops downtown are looking forward to getting involved. And I think the more we all pitch in, the better Heritage Days gets.
Could you talk about the new industrial park the city recently purchased?
Yeah, Joey, the city just recently acquired 127 acres of rail-served, four-lane highway-served ground out southwest across the road from our current River Fork Industrial Park to really set up the city and the county and the community for the next wave of manufacturing businesses and expansions. Over the last 10 years, through the hard work of a lot of people in very collaborative ways, we have gone from a 50% vacancy rate of industrial space to about a 2% vacancy rate. So there's really not available buildings for companies to expand into. There's not available building space for people companies to come in and take over. There are some vacant buildings around that people point to, but they typically have some issues with them that are, cost prohibitive for somebody to come in and work in those. The most important thing we want to be able to do is truly be able to accommodate the needs of our big manufacturers like, Bendix, Continental Structural Plastics, LKQ, M&S Sheet Metal, Huntington Sheet Metal, Shuttleworth, Gerdau. We have great companies here in town that are always looking for ways to expand and to grow their markets. And so it's important that when they are ready to do that, we need to be able to have the resources at hand, not, go find them, but have them right here, right now, ready to go. So we're still a few years away from that having streets and roads to it, but the opportunity came for us to get that property. City leaders have been wanting to get that property for about the last 30 years, and I'm glad we were able to get it.
So could you talk about what you and your administration has been doing about the opioid problem, and what you plan on doing if you're elected as mayor? I realize it is a national issue, not just a local Huntington issue.
Joey, the whole opioid and addiction issue is heartbreaking. There's many families in Huntington and the city and the county that have been devastated by loved ones who've gotten involved in these things. It's a team effort between the city police, the county sheriff's department. I know that State Senator Andy Zay has been at the forefront, not only here locally, but also regionally and down in Indianapolis, to try to get appropriate funding to help break these addiction cycles and get treatment for folks. One of the biggest challenges is that, when people start using illegal drugs, they run afoul of the legal process, but truly what they need is they need help with their addiction. Because their addiction's driving their criminal behavior, and so it's a different kind of a cycle. And so I know that the folks over at the county that deal with the jail, that's one of the issues that we're facing with jail expansion and those sorts of things, which is not a mayor thing, but yet it is, in the sense that I'm supportive of what the county's trying to do to get the right kind of jail facility to deal with the needs that Huntington people have. It's a state problem. Governor Pence, Governor Holcomb, President Trump have all acknowledged that this is one of the biggest challenges we face as a nation, as a state, and I would say as a community, is this issue of addictions. And so I'm hopeful that we can, see some things come along to break this cycle, but it's really a challenge.
So a lot of kids in Huntington, they look for stuff to do. Can you tell me what you and your administration has done in the past and what you plan on doing in the future?
Well, honestly, those are needs that citizens have in a community, and it's low cost, no cost things that can be done that promote activity and skills and sportsmanship. And that's in the wheelhouse of parks. So we have 11 really great parks around Huntington. We've invested heavily in those parks in the last 8 years. We're going to continue to invest in those parks. One of my favorite stories of the last several years is when 4 teenage guys from Youth Services Bureau came with Karen Street, their advisor, back in 2014, and wanted to know what the city could do to build a BMX pump track. And so within 2 years, that idea went to a reality at Yeoman Park, and it's one of the rock and roll parks. I mean, there's always somebody out there, and with the BMX pump track being so popular, the skate park is even more popular. And then I know that there's an initiative getting started right now to do a community painting project of the skate park. We got softball diamonds, baseball diamonds, soccer fields, sand volleyball courts, tennis courts, pickleball courts, basketball courts, pavilions, jogging, running, cycling trails that connect all over town. I remember as a kid, I played more pickup baseball and football than I did anything else. And, there's stuff to do. You just got to be creative. But I really like that story of the 4 young men at Youth Services Bureau. And if there's anybody out there that's got ideas that they want to talk about, my door's always open to hear what ideas you have for ways to make our parks better for our kids and our families.
So it seems like you've had success in bringing people downtown and with the music in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And could you tell me what you plan on doing if you're elected as mayor to build upon that?
Well, I'll tell you what, I've worked with a great team of downtown merchants over the last 8 years with the Main Street initiative. You see the great shops that are downtown, the great restaurants that are downtown. It's just a lot of fun. And so last night, May 4th, we had the first concert of the downtown music series called First Fridays, and local band Roustabout was down there. We had, I think, 150, 175 folks down there. Hangry Bees had their food truck out. People were walking in and out of the party shop and Antiqueology getting candy and ice cream and milkshakes and, down there enjoying music for 2 hours. And then there were people that had gone to the Brick House Grill or to the Rusty Dog or Pizza Junction or Z Place or Nick's Kitchen for dinner. Downtown is that vibe hub that really makes people feel good about where they live. Something else that's getting ready to start that we started 6-7 years ago is the Downtown Farmers Market. That's going to be starting up here the first Wednesday in June. We've seen a lot of improvement on a lot of the older buildings downtown. New owners have come in. One of my favorite shops that a new young owner took a hold of is the old Wells Fargo Bank, David Getters, and what he's doing at Copper Cord. And then this summer with the opening of the refurbished, revitalized UB block and bringing in, some really nice studio 1 and 2 bedroom apartments to that building. The university's small business entrepreneurship center's coming downtown, bringing a lot of energy and creativity. And then the La Fontaine Arts Council, along with the community arts plan, is going to be housed down in the UB block. They're going to have a culinary kitchen where it's commercial approved. People who want to start a business in the food industry can use that kitchen, and they can come and learn about how to launch a food business. There's also going to be a community kiln and a community pottery wheel. Lots of great things for people to do and enjoy once that UB block gets opened up. Going forward, what I'm seeing more and more are individuals from our own community that are buying up some of the older buildings downtown, and they've got some really neat retail business plans of specialty shops. And then they also want to do some things upstairs with residential living loft apartments above those shops. So I think the next year and a half, 2 years are really going to be exciting for downtown Huntington.
So why should the people of Huntington re-elect you for another 4 years as mayor of Huntington?
Well, Joey, I'll tell you what, it's been the highest privilege of my life to serve as the mayor of the city of Huntington for the last 8 years. And I would be honored to serve for another 4. I think we've got the community moving in a very positive direction. Lots of people working shoulder to shoulder, getting great things done in our downtown, in our parks, and in our neighborhoods, and in our industrial manufacturing sector. I think our best days are ahead. And people know how hard my team and I work, and we're committed to doing that for the next 4 years if we're given that opportunity to do it. So May 7th, look forward to having your vote, and look forward to being your mayor for the next 4 years.